All right, so today we're going to be actually writing the equations with variables on both sides from a given scenario or a word problem. Okay? Now, because we're dealing with word problems, we may need to review our clue words. You know, in a word problem, they don't always say plus, minus, add, subtract, multiply. They use keywords, right? Product, sum. Product means what? Multiplication. It's a multiplication word. What about sum? Addition word, right? What about if I said something is decreasing? It's going down, it's decreasing, or it's a negative integer word, right? So, if you need a refresher, I have the words here. These are also in Schoology. I've listed them there so you can always have them to go back and reference. All right, so now let's look at the first example. You do not have to write the word problem, but where we write and we start building these, that's what I want you to write in practice, okay? So the sum of a number and 4 is the same as 18 less than 3 times the same number. Whew, that's wordy, isn't it? I think it's super wordy. So what we're going to do, we're going to break down these word problems. We're going to dissect them little bit by little bit. And we know if we're creating an equation, I have to have a left side and a right side, yes? Well, our word problem is much divided like the same way. So when I'm looking at this little section right here is the same as, that's really my equal sign. If something is the same as something else, isn't it equal to? Okay. Now, so then I can look at my word problem and it's divided into sections. I have, I thought I changed colors. Let's erase. All right, let's see. There we go. The sum of a number and 4. The sum of a number and 4. Sum, what kind of operation word is that? Addition. So I know in addition, I'm going to have my equal sign. In front of my equal sign, I'm going to have an addition problem. A number and 4. Do I know what this number is? If I don't know what the number is, what do we put in place of something we don't know? X, or a variable, or a letter. I could choose any letter. We'll go with X for this problem. So the sum, I need to add a number and 4. So that right there says the sum of a number and 4. And it's the same as, so it's equal to 18 less than 3 times the same number. To me, what stands out is this right here, 3 times the number. How would I say 3 times X, that number? How could I write 3 times X? Yes. Just 3X, 3 times a number. I don't know what that number is, but I know I'm going to take it and multiply by 3. And then I need 18 less than that. So I would subtract 18. So 18 less than 3 times of a number. So if the problem said write an equation, there would be your answer that you would be looking for in your A, B, C, D answer choices. Okay? That would be one of the questions that you could be asked. All right, let's look at another example. All right, let's look at this one. The product of a number and 5 decreased by 9 is 12 less than the same number. So we see that word is, that is our equal sign. Now we need to look at what comes before it. Product. The product of something is what operation? It is multiplication. So I know I'm going to be multiplying a number. Do I know what that number is? Nope, I can put my variable x. A number and 5. So the product of a number and 5. So I'm taking that number, x, and I'm multiplying it by 5. What's a better way to write that? 5x. Now all of that is decreased by 9. Decreased, am I going up or down? Down. So am I adding or subtracting? So minus 9. And all of that is equal to 12 less than that same number. Well, that same number we said was going to be x. How can I write 12 less than that? I need to take away 12. 12 less than. That's a subtraction word. Build your equation. There it is. Could I solve it if we were going to solve it? Would you know how to do it? Yeah. I'm not going to ask you to solve this example, but we could do it. All right, let's look at another example. Another example. Adam and Nick work out together. Nick weighs 160 pounds and is gaining 3 pounds per week. Adam weighs 195 pounds and is losing 2 pounds each week. Write an equation that would be used to find the number of weeks that it will take them to weigh the same amount. So we're writing an equation. This might be one of a test question. It gives you the word problem and asks for the equation. So what are your answer choices going to look like? They're going to look like equations, right? Okay, all right. Well, let's do that. We want to know that they're going to be the same weight, right? So that's an equal statement. I need Nick's weight to be the same as Adam's, right? So I know in the middle of my equation, I'm going to have an equal sign. So write that down. We're going to have an equal sign. But now in that word problem, there was a whole lot of information, wasn't there? Stuff about Nick, stuff about Adam. It's easy to get it mixed up. So we're going to help our brains out, and we're going to label what goes on the left side and what goes on the right side. So what are the two things we're talking about here? We're talking about the weight of who? Nick and Adam. So how about we say the left side is going to be all about Nick. The right side will be all about Adam. I do expect to see this when you're showing your work. I expect you to see you labeling. Okay? I also expect to see you identifying things in the word problem. I know you can't do this right now because you don't have the word problem in front of you, but when we have homeworks, you can do it. On your test, you can go down and highlight and circle and annotate on your test online. So you can do these strategies. So what I'm going to do to help my brain out is I'm going to put all of the stuff about Nick. I'm going to maybe circle everything about Nick. So if I have Nick, what do we know about Nick? How much does he weigh? He weighs 160 pounds. So I know he's starting out at 160 pounds. And he's gaining 3 pounds per week. So if you're gaining weight, are you adding weight or are you taking weight away? Adding, so I've got to add 3 pounds per week. Do I know how many weeks he's counting? No, so that would be my variable. So how could I show 3 pounds per week? 3x. Perfect. So 160 plus 3x. That's equal to, now I got to go find all of Adam's stuff. Well, since I've already circled everything for Nick, maybe for Adam, I'm going to use boxes. If you had highlighters, could you use 2 different color highlighters? Sure. If you had different color pens, you could. But sometimes all you have is a pencil. So using shapes can kind of help your brain separate the different information. So let's go find all of Adam's information. How much does Adam weigh? He weighs 195, so he's starting out 195. And he's losing 2 pounds each week. So is he adding weight or is he taking weight away? So he's taking away 2 pounds each week. How can I write that? 2x. Everybody sit up, please. So do I have an equation? I have a left side and a right side. Okay, so if the question asks which equation could be used, you're done. You've built the equation. But what if the test people that created the test, what if they flip-flopped it? What if they put Adam on the left and Nick on the right? What if they flip-flop 195 minus 2x equals 160 plus 3x? Is that the same thing? Absolutely, it's the same thing. I just switched sides. So be mindful, if you set up your problem with Nick on one side, but your answer choice has Nick on the other, that's okay. All right? But sometimes, it's not always, they're not always going to say what's the equation. Sometimes they may come down here, and instead of asking for the equation, they may ask something like this. How many weeks did it take? If they're asking for how many weeks, remember, this was 3 pounds per week. This was 2 pounds per week. So my weeks are determined by that value of x, right? So if they're asking for how many weeks, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to solve it. So we would have to first write the equation and then solve it. So let's practice that. Now we should be just like what we've been practicing for the last few days. So everybody should be writing this down. All right, I need to get variables to one side, constants or plain numbers to the other. What's going to be my easy move for my variables? Adding 2x to both sides. Plus 2x. If I do to one side, do it to the other, plus 2x. These cancel out. I'm left with 160 plus how many x's on the left-hand side? 5 x's equals 195. Now that I have variables to one side, what do I need to move? The numbers. So which number is going to be moving? 160. What's the opposite of this 160? Subtracting, or a negative 160. What I do to one side? Do to the other. 5x is equal to 195 minus 60, or excuse me, 160. 35. Now what do I need to do to isolate? Divide both sides by 5. 35 divided by 5, x equals 7. So to answer the question, how many weeks did it take? 7 weeks. So you have to be prepared. The question may just ask for the equation, but if it gets really specific and wants to know how many weeks, you're going to have to solve an equation. You may have to create it yourself. They may not give it to you. So you've got to create it so you can solve it. But we can do that. And we're going to practice that again. Yes? There are no dumb questions. No, they would never give you both. It would just be, like you're talking the equation, if they're flip-flopped, that would be the only one. Yes. All right, let's clear these out. And let's practice another one. All right, JC has a VIP membership to a movie theater. So she pays $27 a year and $6 for each movie she sees. Claire doesn't have that membership, so she pays $8.25 for each movie she sees. Write an equation that can be used to find out how many movies they must watch to pay the same amount. Same amount? What kind of equation? What symbol's going in the middle? Equals. What's going to be equal? Who are we talking about here? JC and Claire, their movie membership. So I could make this side all about JC. I can make this side all about Claire. All right, let's go pull out all of JC's information. Maybe I'll use some circles. What do we know about JC? What does she pay? She pays $27. But now, is she going to pay that every year? This year she pays $27. Next year she going to pay another $27? And the next year? So that number stays the same, right? Excuse me. So that is the constant. That is the number that just stays the same. It doesn't get the variable. All right, what else does she pay? $6 for each movie. Do I know how many movies? She pays $6 for every movie. Now, am I adding that cost of the movies or am I subtracting it? Adding it, because I have to pay both of these if I'm JC. So we have all of JC's information. Now let's go get Claire's information. Does Claire have a membership fee she pays? She doesn't have a fee. She just pays $8.25 for each movie. So what am I going to write on Claire's side? 8.25x. All right, if the question just asked for the equation, we're done. But if it asked for how many movies, I got to take it a step further and solve. So since it asked that, let's go ahead and practice solving. Variables to one side, numbers to the other. I already have just my 27 over here, so let's keep it. So we need to move the 6x to the other side. What's the opposite of adding 6x? So subtract 6x from both sides. Now remember, 6 is a whole number. So if it helps you, line up your decimals and put it in there. Put in your placeholder zeros. Because adding and subtracting decimals, you must line up your decimal point. These cancel out. I'm left with 27 is equal to how many x's? 825 minus 6 is 2.25x. All right, so now we have to divide by 2.25. Those cancel out. Mean old Miss Marling is making you divide by decimals. We have to do some side work. 27 divided by 2.25. Can I ever have a decimal outside the division house? No, we sure can. I see a lot of head shaking no's. I like it. So I have to move the decimal point until I get a whole number. That means I move it once and twice. But what I do to the outside, do to the inside. Move it once, move it twice. Now, when I'm dividing, I have 225. That goes into 270. How many times? One time. 1 times 225 is 225. Subtract. We're going to need to borrow 6. That becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 6 minus 2 is 4. Remainder 45. But I need to bring down my 0. 225 goes into 450. How many times? 2 times. Good. 2 times 225, 450. It goes in there even. Excuse me. So therefore, x is equal to 12. So to answer our question, how many movies would each girl need to watch in a year to pay the same amount of money that year? 12 movies. 12 movies.